of the key was his cleverness. It wasn't his athleticism
Yeah.
or he's a big time shooter, but he could get to his spots on the floor, with his really cleverness and trickiness. And Brunson's taken that to a new level, along with some real strength, physical power. He goes through bigger guys.
He does.
And and I think just basically the green light that he has really does help him, because everybody knows he's going to try to score, and but his he's a serious MVP candidate in my mind. I mean, of course, now that the season's over, I mean, he probably wouldn't get it, but I would put him probably ahead of Jay Gilgeous-Alexander, really. And I mean, that's a close call. And of course, off the topic here, but it's such an amazing thing we're seeing. We're seeing a total turnaround in the league of the stars. I mean, when LeBron and Steph Curry and Durant aren't in the playoffs, there's a changing of the guards. And
Audio Jungle.
Hello, welcome into the King's Court Wednesday, May 8th, 2024. How we doing today? Tadora, what's up?
Holy moly, Jimbo!
Sacramento Kings, let's go. Sea-Dog, what's up, my man? How you doing? Alberto, welcome in. Ryan, so glad you're able to keep up this Kings content. You've definitely progressed tremendously from the beginning. Alberto, you have no idea how much that means. Thank you very much for the kind words. And a lot of you are the reason I've been able to progress. You guys have given me your hard feedback, your objections, and really, you've given me great content. I say it all the time, but you guys are the best and most knowledgeable fans in the NBA. It's hands down. It's not even close. And I'm not kissing ass here. I mean that. Sorry, Tadora, don't listen to that word. What is up, Daniel? Hope you're doing well, buddy. I need to catch up with you one of these days pretty soon. My lady, Anita. Anita, thank you so much for making it to the live edition of the King's Court. I really appreciate it. I had lunch with Anita about, what was it, 2 weeks ago now, Anita? It was really nice catching up with her. For those that don't know, she is a Kings enthusiast. She knows the game. She challenges me at a different level, and I love it. And she's a great author, by the way. So love Anita. Sea-Dog John, what's up? Howdy. Happy Wednesday, Ryan. Slam that thumbs up. Yes, please give us a thumbs up. We are streaming live on YouTube, streaming live on X. Thank you to the over 433 of you that checked in at some point yesterday on the King's Court Live. Really appreciate it. You didn't get a recorded King's Court this morning. My apologies. Having some issues with the podcast platform. That will be back to normal. But let's lay out today really quick. We've got the NBA MVP announced tonight. Who do you think it is going to be? Oh, well, I take back what I said about Anita then. She's a Cowboys fan? I'm just kidding. That doesn't matter. But John, how about them Cowboys? Anyways, we can talk about the MVP race. Who is going to be the MVP, right? What are you guys thinking? Also, we're going to debut pick or pass. Which one are you going to go on? We're going to talk about free agents that may be available this summer, that will be available, whether they have a player option or not. We'll get into that. I also want to talk about the Boogeyman.
I'm the Boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Boogeyman. Well, it's New York's Boogeyman to a degree. We'll fill that in. We can talk about what we saw last night, the Thunder and Thunder and Dallas. We can talk about that. I'll tell you what, is anybody going to stop SGA I just don't think, short of the Mavericks having an offensive explosion for the next however many games it takes them to get to 4, I don't see it happening. If Dallas can't play without fouling, that series is over. It's not even going to be close. But again, it's only one game, smaller sample size. We've got that and much more. I played Jerry Reynolds at the beginning of the show. He was on yesterday, and I wanted to circle back to that because something he said really hit me. It is a little bit of a changing of the guards this offseason. And could it be, and I followed up on that question, quite literally changing of the guards, because look at the guards excelling, the young guards excelling in the playoffs. But could that also change the style that teams want to play in the NBA? It might. It's working out in Minnesota as of right now. We can take your calls. You can take the show any way that you want to take the show. Scan the QR code above my shoulder, or you can go to the chat. I am going to throw this in right here for you. You can click that. You don't have to be on video to join. So we already got some calls waiting. We'll get to those in a second. Back to the chat really quick. Ryan, would you take Fox over Murray? James, you hit me with that yesterday. We'll get to that on Pick or Pass. Anita, I am a Cowboys fan, which makes it much harder when the Kings miss the playoffs. Man, Anita, it's been lean times for you then the last 16, 17 years, because the Cowboys, seems like every year they're supposed to be good, but they just don't pull through in the end. And you know the problem there, Anita? I'd love to get your take on it. I've gotten John's take, but is it inevitable that that program, that team doesn't change until there's a changing of the guard and ownership in the front office? It's a good question. James hopping back in, my opinion, SGA. You can't even breathe on him or free throws. No, I disagree. That man is earning his free throws. If you watch that game last night, there's no answer for him. And you know what he's going to do. You know he's trying to get to the rim. He is just a different animal altogether. And that's what makes some of these guards that are excelling in the playoffs, young guards, so interesting to watch. We've talked about Anthony Edwards, the Ant-Man, and him being kind of a he is. It's not a kind of. He is a throwback to the old school two guards. You can't debate that. He's got some Kobe Bryant. He's got some MJ in him. He does. Now, he doesn't have it of those guys yet, but he's a pretty young player. And for me, somebody that's not been a huge fan of the product that's been on the floor in the NBA in the last 5 seasons, it is a breath of fresh air. All right. As I said, we're taking your calls today. We've got Pick or Pass. We're going to talk about the boogeyman and the games coming up tonight, the MVP race. We've got that as well. But first, we bring in Corn Dog. What's up, man? Kicking off the show on a Wednesday. How you doing today?
Oh, man, I love that boogeyman entrance theme soundbite. Oh, man, I remember when he came out when I was a young one.
I'm the boogeyman. And I'm coming to get you.
Wasn't he kind of like, there were certain characters in WWE that actually gave me kind of the creeps when I was younger? Kane, the boogeyman, 2 to name them.
I mean, man, boogeyman, they went all out. I mean, you know, he was eating worms and smashing clocks on his heads and had a voodoo stick and stuff.
Oh, man. He was all in with that gimmick. I don't know how much you'd have to pay me for a mouthful of worms unless I'm on like one of those survival shows.
Oh,
But
Fear
anyway.
Factor.
Yeah, exactly. So what's up, Condog?
So I wanted to talk about this idea of what I think of a modern NBA lineup where it's a point guard, 3 wings, and a defensive center.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of, you have 4 guys for the most part that are interchangeable, or at least a lot of the teams that have been having success, or some of the guys that are the most valuable. You look at the trade deadline this last year, Alex Caruso's name coming up across the board because he can guard 4 positions. But I don't know that that's going to be the formula going forward, because I really think what Jerry said yesterday holds some weight, because the way SGA plays, you can't necessarily play those types of lineups. You're going to have a couple bigs in there to kind of give him a little bit more problems than Dallas is. And Dallas's bigs are good, or Connor.
Yeah, I mean, I was just, kind of just, thinking of different creative ways for the Kings to because maybe, traditional two guard isn't the way for us, just with our depth at that position. Maybe we go more into a wing thing, but
yeah, it becomes what's on the market. What do you have? What do you have to give up? I think one thing is apparent. One of our off-season questions, what style are the Sacramento Kings going to try to play? I think it's pretty evident they've got to try to play the way they ended the season, because look at the teams that, rely on the three ball, and look at where they're at in the playoffs right now. The Clippers, compared to the teams that are playing inside out basketball. And there has to be some balance. Jerry talked about it yesterday, Con, that he's not real big on the spray. It needs to be a little more than just spraying the ball.
Yeah. Again, I don't know the answer to what type of, because I can make all these trade machine, things in my head all I want. But if I don't know the style they want to play in the off season, I'm just, throwing dice out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, it starts with Malik Monk, right? What's that shoe going to look like? I actually am going to talk about that situation in a few minutes, and I've got some audio from Locked On Magic, because I want you guys to hear the Magic's perspective. What is their fan base, the guys that cover their team, looking at in terms of free agency and what's most important to them? So we're going to get to that in a second.
Okay. And then also I wanted to double down on the whole talent and thing, because I do believe, again, overall, I think Boogie's probably was the most talented player in Sacramento era. But yeah, his attitude, I saw just so many games where if he didn't get a foul call, he got upset. He would start forcing bad shots, missing stuff, and then get into foul trouble when we needed him on the court to win a game, and then we'd fall behind.
Yep.
That was the whole Boogie era in a nutshell. I watched that religiously in high school. Yeah, it happened way too many times. And again, honestly, even besides the Achilles tear, he was healthier than Anthony Davis was at that point in time.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Grant put it perfectly when he said what somebody within the organization told him about Boogie being an absolute man from the neck down and from the neck up. Not necessarily the leader, the example that you want to set. And you just can't have, especially with a team that's floundering, you can't have a leader that leads that way, because it's not going to inspire guys to get better. If Boogie's losing it on coaches, losing it on fans during the game, what the hell do you think he's doing in practice? What do you think the stories are that Grant can't talk about, that others that have been around Boogie or were around Boogie couldn't talk about? But there's no doubt, skill for skill, a strong argument to be made that he is the most talented.
I mean, yeah, he had the rebounding, he had a shot. Hell, he's probably would be the best free throw shooter on our current team right now.
Yeah, that wouldn't be hard though.
Yeah, he had the inside, he had footwork. Yeah, that's a dude that had it all and just could not get it done.
He did, and unfortunately, a series of injuries, and that mixed with
usually
the
one
attitude.
Achilles tear kind of just leads you down a bad.
Here's the thing, Boogie. I don't think I've heard a lot of people say this. They talk about what his career could have been. Boogie was like a cat. That guy had 9 lives. How many times did he get opportunities with teams when you thought he was out of the league? And it still didn't pan out. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, people were even shocked the other year when he was on Denver. They didn't even realize he was on the team.
Exactly right. Well, hey, we're going to have some fun stuff coming up. I know you'll be chiming in on the comments. Appreciate the call, kicking us off today.
Later,
buddy. It's kind of like, did you see Con Dog's image it's kind of like he's being like 3D'd in there, like Tupac. And I know it's because of his background, but that was pretty funny. Let's get back to the chat and then we'll talk some MVP. I certainly want to answer your questions. John's in the same boat as Anita. Alberto, I think SGA should get the nod for MVP. Yes, let's talk MVP really quick. I'm going to stop the comments there. Jokic, Doncic, SGA, your finalists for MVP. If you listen to a lot of the exit polling, if you listen to some of the writers that have shared their votes before, obviously it has been announced tonight. There's some lean there that it looks like it's going to be Jokic. And my question is, why? Why? So Jokic, don't get me wrong, biggest, probably most talented big man in the league. Maybe one of the most talented big men to ever play in the league because he's done things at that position a lot of guys could not do in this modern era of basketball. But when I look at Jokic's numbers, what did he do this season that was that much better than any of the other seasons? And with all this going around about these individual awards really leaning a lot towards team awards now, it's too far weighted. Like, oh, well, they had the best record in the West. Look what happened to Domas at the All-Star game. He gets snubbed because Cat is on the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had the best record, or right up there for the best record in the NBA. So I can't help but think if you are applying that standard to your voting, and I get voting changes by each individual, how do you not apply the season that Oklahoma City had? They're the number 1 seed in the West. SGA gets to the line more than any other guard in the NBA. Oklahoma City would be good without SGA. But right now, they're playing great with him. And I know it's a regular season award. And if the postseasons were weighted into it, the vote might be different. But I am with Alberto. SGA, to me, is the MVP of the NBA. Unfortunately, I think you're going to hear Jokic's name called tonight. Luka doesn't really do anything for me. But what makes that really hard to swallow? Guess who led the league in rebounds? That'd be Domas. And now we're talking about, is Domas going to be all NBA third team? Is he not? Now that they've changed that to basically it's positionless for the all NBA teams, that to me may be the straw that breaks the camel's back of Domas being completely snubbed this year. But wouldn't it be pretty funny to have a guy that was or is all NBA, regardless of if it's first team, second team, third team, yet he wasn't an all-star? So let me know what you guys think about the MVP race. Let's get to some more comments. John, what's up, Ash? How you doing? Hey, Ash, how's the song coming along? If you are in a safe place to be able to chat, let me know. James, on Shay, it comes down to how bad he wants it and killer mentality. He's an old school throwback. I love it. Brunson, interesting. Greater than SGA, Steve. I don't know if I agree with that one quite yet. Could be. Cousin was good, but he didn't make the team better. Yeah, he didn't make the team better consistently. And in the locker room, there's an argument he made the team worse. Okay, I'm back on. All right, SGA would have been my vote. Dirk hopping in. Dirk knows his basketball. Let's see. They're going to give it to Doncic. I don't think so. Luka, 3. Can't complain if he wins. No, I'm not saying that these 3 aren't deserving. Okay. If any 3 of these guys win the award, which one of them will, all of them are deserving of winning the award. But I think SGA is definitely the most deserving. As we say that, we bring in our man, Dirk. Dirk, welcome on this Wednesday. How you doing?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great, buddy. What's going on?
Cool. So a couple questions. I saw Cousins came up. Did you catch the video of Rudy Gay discussing with Carmelo Anthony and someone else his time in Sacramento?
No, I did not. Fill us in.
So it's out there. I don't know what the source is on it, but it's Rudy Gay talking about his comment about basketball helping in Sacramento. He talks about signing with the premise that Mike Malone would be here. But they start talking a little bit about Boogie, and they're very complimentary of Boogie, and Rudy Gay goes, "Yeah, you must have just watched the highlights." He gave about as subtle a criticism of Boogie as you can give, right, and still be on positive terms with. So I think the book has been written on Boogie Cousins. You know, he'd have a job if he was worth his weight, you know.
I would also go a step further. If you know about Boogie's management, when he was here in Sacramento, I think he had that all wrong. His agent, I do not think, was a good fit for Boogie. Boogie needed somebody around him that would have probably given him a little more truth than his agent did, because his agent was a guy he went to college with. You know, it was more of a friend situation, and I think that hurt it even worse.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I also want to know if you caught the picture of Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, in the front office on the golf course.
I
what
did.
Your take on that was?
Why the hell are you not on Augusta? Why are you not at Pebble Beach? Like, why are you somewhere here in town? I don't know where they were golfing. I'm just joking. It's the courting process. I think it's great. Those guys play a lot of golf. I'm not saying Vivek plays a lot with them, but Malik Monk, if he's not on the basketball court, he's on the golf course. Same thing with Keegan.
Yeah, I think that picture is very strategic, though, in regards to what it's trying to convey a little bit about this team.
Well, give us your take. Give us your take on it.
Well, last time I was on, I asked you, is it possible we could sign him to a 1-year deal and then offer him a contract that might offset whatever value he's not getting because he's signing with Sacramento? So like a hypothetical, if let's just pull out some easy numbers. Let's say the Kings could only offer him $10 million this year, and he would be offered, let's say, 4 for 25. Could they sign him to a 1-year deal for that $10 million and then give him a $30 million per year, 3-year contract? So over the same 4-year period, he would be making the same money.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know the answer to that, but the answer that I do know is I don't think Malik would be open to that. I think Malik's going to want it not up front, but he's going to want the guarantee of that money for whatever the contract length may be. And I point directly to the James Harden situation. I think I did that last time this came up in Philly. And I'm not saying Vivek would do that to a player, but at the end of the day, it is business. And you look, Malik's earned the right to get his bag wherever it may be. I just wonder, Dirk, if it's too little too late on the Kings' part. I mean, why wasn't this possibly on their radar a little bit earlier? If they had any inclination he may not stay, or the number for him may be higher than what they could offer, why not look to get creative like you're talking about? If you know he's going to leave, get something for him.
Well, I mean, I tend not to throw a ton of criticism at the front office just because I'm happy for the stability. I don't think it benefits us to go in different directions at this point. And I have some confidence in Monty McNair in the front office to make some deals. I think we'll be a different team next year. I was surprised to hear you and Grant yesterday talking about getting off Fox, even as a hypothetical.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. So he's had limited playoff experience.
Mm-hmm.
How would you rate his performance last year in playoffs?
Last year in the playoffs?
Scale. Yeah.
Tremendous. I mean, until he hurt his hand, he was one of the best players in the series. I think you got to give him at least an 8, maybe a 9.
I'd probably put him at a 9, but beyond, you're basically asking him to overcome that, Steph Curry all-time performance in Game 7 to be a 10, which is
sure.
You need an all-timer performance. So the one time he's been to the playoffs, he was spectacular, really great.
Mm-hmm.
He's only been once. We finally got him a second all-star to play with, and we've been a 45, 46, 48 win team in that situation. So to me, if we could get another guy of near all-star caliber, we could see more examples of him in the playoffs. I'll say in contrast, Domantas Sabonis, who played in the playoffs before he was a Sacramento King, has historically been regressed to his average, like an average level player in critical situations. So I was just interested to hear the discussion of like moving on from what has been established. So what was the motivation behind you and Grant talking about, like, maybe it's time to get off Fox?
Well, it wasn't
Just for
a
fun?
motive. Yeah, sure. It wasn't a motivation there was no motivation to it. Like, hey, we need to move off Fox. I think as the off season goes on, you're going to hear us have those conversations about pretty much every player that's in the court, including Sabonis, including Keegan. And I guess the point is, Dirk, if you look at those big three, so you just said you get 46, 48 wins with Fox here, with Domas here. This playoff season, you have seen the Western Conference. We knew it was going to be better. We didn't know it was going to be this much better. And that's still with the Spurs on the up and up. You've got Utah that's got a ton of draft capital available to them. Oklahoma City, they have a war chest of draft picks. Minnesota, have they found a new formula to combat this positionless basketball? So these things, because of the age of the stars in those or on those teams, it's like the Kings can't just get 5-6 games better. The Kings have to get considerably better. And the only way they're going to do it, like you said, bring in another all-star or somebody that could be fringe all-star, Dirk. The only way you're going to do that is either by going over the cap, which Vivek is not going to do. Grant's made that pretty clear through his dealings with them, and I agree with that. I don't think Vivek's going to want to have that. And with the CBA, it's going to be all about developing talent. So if there's going to be a big shakeup, and we look at that big three, Fox, Monk, Sabonis, out of those three, who has the most upside and who has the most value? I'll kick it to you.
Well, first of all, I think you have to, I say, give some credibility on people's ability to learn. Like, Grant has inside knowledge about Vivek, as I'm sure he may have shared with you in regards to what you know about him that the public does not know. But I also think he's been privy to what's happened in the last 10 years. Like, he has the capacity to realize, okay, maybe this isn't the type of industry you can really innovate within. Like, you can't be an outsider with outside perspective and try to bring an innovative idea and try things outside the norm. There's reasons that these things happen. I need to bring in the right people and maybe make different decisions. So I don't know Vivek, but if he's smart, being rich doesn't make you smart. He is self-made. So he had to figure out ways to things. And so I have some faith in somebody's ability to realize and learn from their mistakes. Number two, one other premise I want to challenge is San Antonio's coming.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, a lot of the historic best rookies of the year had an instant impact on their team's winning. Like guys like Tim Duncan, David Robinson, LeBron James.
Hall of Famers once in a generation for LeBron, right?
Correct. So these teams, when they played their rookie year, jumped 10, 15 wins. Okay. Mm-hmm. Why do we just accept that the Spurs would suddenly get much better next year over this team?
Well, it's not necessarily accepting. The Spurs they weren't playing with an aggressive deck. Wemby, they didn't think they were going to get the number one pick, but the reality is you still have Greg Popovich. You've got a ton of room to play if you're them, and you now get to build a team around Wemby. And I get what you're saying about some of those guys having an immediate impact more than Wemby has had, but in some ways, Wemby is a unicorn, like something we've never seen in this NBA ever. A guy that's 7'4", that plays like a guard, but can also just stand there and dunk the ball on his feet. So when you take that into account, Dirk, what are we seeing in the playoffs right now? We're seeing
lengthy, athletic, defending teams are dominating other teams.
And absolutely. And the other thing we're seeing too is playmaking. Wemby can get his shot over anybody he wants. He's still learning his body. And I think as he learns that body and learns the NBA game, it's going to come along quicker, and it's just inevitable. Maybe it's not next year, but San Antonio is going to be knocking on the door as long as Pop's there and Wemby's there.
He is a unicorn, right? And I do think they will find winning ways, but I also think you have a much tighter window of what's going to happen to a 7'4" frame that can move like that upon the first injury, upon the second injury. Like, you look at him and Chet Holmgren as far as this body type that there's, like, Chet, for example, does not look like he is going to be able to put on a lot of weight to handle the constant ways defenses or offenses attack him and hit him in his body. They have youth on their side now, but I don't think their window is going to be that long personally. And when you talk about Wemby, it's what is the opportunity cost that, like, where do you play him ideally? And what does your team like take away when you don't have that guy? It's a great proposition to have, right? A guy at 7'4" who's the leading shot blocker. But when you have him taking outside 3-pointers, it kind of equates a little bit to the Kings in some way. Like, people want Sabonis to shoot threes. Well, who's getting rebounds in that situation? If you had Josh Hart, that would be a great proposition because he's the best rebounding guard in the league. And another reason I love Keon is he seemingly is a really good rebounder for a guard as well. But when you play these guys in positions where you can't offset what they give your team, like for Sabonis rebounding, or Wemby, you're giving probably up size somewhere to let him shoot outside threes. Does that net you more positive possessions than not?
Dude,
that's an interesting proposition.
Dirk, to me, that is exactly, and you said it so eloquently, that is exactly the situation and the struggle the Kings are having. That's exactly it. De'Aaron Fox does shooting the 3 ball. Does that extra point actually hurt the team more than it would help the team if he's going pick and roll? He's getting to the rim. He can do some of these things SGA can do. There's no doubt about it, because nobody can keep up with De'Aaron, Dirk. But that's the problem. You have an isolation point guard, and this is not a De'Aaron Fox thing. It's just a style thing. If you're going to have Domantas Sabonis, he's got to have a team point guard around him. He's got to have somebody. Look at how he flourishes with Monk on the floor with the pick and roll. And in terms of rebounding, Keon, great option. I think that's there too. But why can't De'Aaron get in there and mix it up on the boards? He's just as long.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, why can't De'Aaron get in there and mix it up? Why is De'Aaron settling for the 3? I think De'Aaron is trying to maintain his health for a late season push to be ready for the playoffs. And I'll harken back to a few years ago. Do you remember when De'Aaron put on all of that muscle in the offseason?
Yes.
And that seemingly was misguided. Like, he ended up giving up some of his best attributes or making himself a little bit slower for the sake of bulk to maybe withstand some of the damage being dealt to him on a nightly basis. If you look at his body type, he doesn't look like a guy that's, I know he puts in the work, but he's never going to have that frame to support it. So I think the theory that I'm running with here is that he's trying to preserve his health for the betterment of the team, coupled with some other aspects that, kind of like this mid-season media hiatus he took. I think in an ideal situation, you have you offer De'Aaron some assistance in making decisions late in games. I like to see the offense be more dictated by the coach rather than in late game decision making, more so than just putting it on him. I think he gives you so much that I still think you can win with Fox. We have to get him into his ideal situations, which is when he's going to play like there is no tomorrow, like in the playoffs. And so we just need to get back there. I think we need to model more of what Denver's doing. We need a Aaron Gordon-like guy. I have some theories that Keegan could be that, but I've already taken up enough time, so maybe I'll save that for another call. But you could piece this team in a lot of different ways. And the last thing I want to
Absolutely.
say is Malik Monk does offer a lot of to this team on offense, right? But isn't he one of the weaker parts of the defense?
Yes, he is. The Kings hide him a little bit on that second unit defensively. He's not jumping out and staying in front of people always.
And he
I
gambles.
think he gambles. Exactly. The part of Malik's game that needs work is the gambles. You hit the nail on the head, Dirk, because what's the other thing he does on offense? He gets caught in the air and he's stuck. There's nowhere to go with the ball, get a turnover or an errant pass, and the Kings get the ball back with like 4 seconds on the shot clock. So yes, if this is going to be a defensive team and Malik comes back, or even if they're going to be an offensive team, his defense does need to improve.
Yeah, and I think even if he doesn't come back, I don't think it's as dreary as we somewhat talk about. It's going to change things. But there are other point guards out there that can, you guys talked about Tyus Jones.
Yep.
If that guy comes in as your backup, I know him a little bit by reputation, but not his game. So I can't say for sure he can fit right in, but they're going to have more money to make moves. The new CBA is going to allow the Kings to take on more salary than they would give back in trade, which means if they want to gamble, they can. If they know a player they want to say this is going to be the best ideal fit. I'm kind of optimistic the more this offseason goes on that we're going to be okay. These teams are all a year older. Father Time is undefeated, but it's not the end of the world if we don't re-sign Malik. I hope he does. I've enjoyed watching him, but I'm optimistic that with small moves, this team could find themselves back in the 6th seed or above.
Yeah, you know what? They just need a ticket to the dance. And I've said it a couple times over the last couple weeks on this show that's what's been hard to watch about these playoffs, because even with all the adversity they went through, look at how the games are coming down. They're grinding. I mean, shoot, Denver only had 80 points against Minnesota. New York has been keeping opponents around that 105, 107 mark. So that's what the Kings were doing. And granted, their exposure would have been not having a playmaker or a secondary playmaker to De'Aaron Fox, because Sabonis, he's got to be a better playmaker. He has to make quicker decisions. But I want to summarize with this, because you brought up some great points, and I am 100% with you about the front office. I think Monty McNair has done a great job. If you've paid attention to the little moves, everything has been strategic and everything has been for the betterment for the team in some way, and he's been patient. Now, the question becomes, and I'll end it with this, how much longer can you be patient? And Denver was ready for their Aaron Gordon, right, Dirk? He was the piece that took them over the top. I don't think the Kings are ready for their Aaron Gordon. And when they're ready to make that decision, that is going to be the pick. That's going to be the player that's going to have to change everything. It has to be the icing on the cake to get this team to the next level.
Well, let me ask you this. If you put Aaron Gordon on this current iteration of the Kings, where would they be weak?
If you put Aaron right now, point guard, 100%. The Kings have been weak at point guard.
De'Aaron Fox would be. So let's take last year's iteration. You said we have to be ready for their Aaron Gordon. I mean, if Aaron Gordon would fit a lot of needs. I don't want him. He's just for the same conversations. Where does the team have needs at that point? If basically Harrison Barnes would be your backup 4 or backup 3 hypothetically.
Correct. Yeah, and Aaron Gordon's a guy too that could spread the floor for Sabonis as well. So that's the big thing when you look at bringing in a forward, bringing in a center, is what the fit's going to be and the spread's going to be with the spacing with Sabonis. Because if you don't space correctly with Sabonis, it can lead to him being ineffective.
Well, I hope we get a guy who can rebound so you could see Sabonis shoot more threes. I honestly would like to see it a little bit, but we'll have to wait till next year.
Dirk, he's got a pretty stroke when he doesn't hesitate. When he doesn't think about it and he lets it fly from 3, it looks good. It's soft.
Yeah, watch the old OKC highlights when he was drafted. He used to apparently shoot a bunch. He shoots way better now. But again, it's who's getting the rebound if he misses, and that's where you have to fit the guy in that can make that happen for you. So
Well, here's the other thing. You lose Malik Monk. Think about how many times he comes flying off of the wing for a putback dunk or that spectacular rebound. He does that a lot too. So I think Davion has some of that in him as well, but it's going to be fun. We've got all summer to discuss it.
I think if you have to move on from Davion, if you don't get signed Malik Monk for your backup point guard position.
Well,
so I'm on the opposite thing.
Davion's a desirable piece, believe it or not. There's a lot of Eastern Conference teams that would love to have him on the roster.
Cool.
So, all right. Thanks, Dirk. Appreciate the
We'll
call,
chat with
buddy.
you. See ya.
As always, he always makes it. Oh, Mr. Moss, I'm coming to you in 1 second, okay? He's frozen. All right. Mr. Moss will be back in a second. I want to get to your chats because we ran long there with Dirk, but some good stuff. Jalen Brunson, we got that one. Cousins, some talk. Back on SGA would have your vote based on the prior criteria. It should be Tatum or SGA. I am here to win one of those 10 free t-shirts you're giving away today. Oh, really? 10 free t-shirts today, Mr. Horse. Did you pick that number? Boogie, what's up? Boogie needed someone like Grant. Yeah, that didn't work out so well. Ryan, when is MVP announcement? It's on the NBA on TNT. Should be coming up before the tip of the Knicks game. Knicks T-Wolves NBA Finals. That would be a fun series. I got the Knicks in the finals. Media making noise of Anthony Edwards, heir apparent to Jordan. Okay, fair. Because, Jeff, on the surface, you hear anybody compared to Jordan, you're like, okay, you're crazy. What are you doing? But I think I've made some comparisons, and I want to be clear. It's the style of two guard that he is. It looks like he just walked out of a time machine from 1989. That's how he plays the game. We have not seen that in a bit. Do you think Sabonis will make an all-NBA team? No, I do not, because it's positionless now with the voting. And I think that is what's going to keep him off, or that's going to be the reason you hear from the media or the experts if Sabonis is left out. As I said, still taking phone calls. We've got a ton of content still to get to, but first, Mr. Moss, what's up, Keith? How you doing today, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Rhino? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. No complaints.
Good, man. I won't keep you too long. Just a few topics here.
Yeah, let's do it.
MVP voting. Don't like it. Don't like the voters. Don't like the changing of the criteria from year to year.
Yep.
No. 1 year, James wins it. Next year, Russ wins as a 6 seed. Joker wins it as a 6 seed. I don't know. I mean, it's the most valuable player. And so these voters, it seems like it's an agenda, it's a narrative, it's a bias award. And we use these awards to put guys in a proper place in history. I don't like it. And so
hey, explain that. What do you mean by proper place in history?
Well, because I have some of the most heated debates about basketball with some of my friends. I've spoken to ex-players and people close to the game, and they use MVPs as a talking point, right? For example, Steve Nash has 2, Kobe has 1. LeBron James has 2 MVPs while playing with Wade and Bosh, but they told us that Steph and Kevin could never win the award playing with each other, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. And so when we compare, some of these players, I'm a Kobe guy. I mean, I'm a Rockets fan, but I'm a Kobe guy. And what comes up is, well, Kobe only has 1 MVP. LeBron has 4. So how can he be in the conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so these awards to me are just, listen, I think Jamal Crawford had the best point of all time. That award should be judged by your peers and the coaches, the ones who you play with and against, because they see it up close and personal. I'm not listening to a guy who writes on a pen and pad, who maybe didn't get an interview last Wednesday, right? And now his vote is going towards Luka, and it's not going towards Jason Tatum, right?
Yep.
And so that's my thoughts on that. I do think the Spurs will get somebody sooner than rather later to pair up with Wemby. I mean, if you're an upcoming star player or budding star, why would you not want to be next to that guy?
No doubt. Exposure, number one. Think about how much exposure you're going to get.
right? And not just that, but just how easier he makes the game for others. So I do think Pop and the crew up there in San Antonio, aka Riverwalk, I think they'll figure it out. Um, you guys had a very interesting conversation about the Kings, and I watched them close this year, Rhino. I was at most of the games.
Yep.
They need to fix that defense. I don't think they can afford to lose Malik Monk unless you're bringing somebody back. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the last 15, 20 games that he missed, what stood out to me was you didn't see the Malik and Sabonis two-way game. The little pocket passes, the little high pick and roll. Sabonis rolls, he slips, boom, easy dunk or layup. So that was heavily missed, late in the season. Darren has been with Steph Curry for the last year? He signed to his brand. So the increase in 3-point shots could be it could be from that, right? I don't know. I mean, I think he can shoot it, but the question is, you mentioned SGA. What does SGA do that Darren doesn't do? IQ. He knows where to get your shots at. He knows, I'm not finna shoot a 3-ball. Yeah, I can make it, but is that a high value shot? And
so let me ask you this really quick, because I have seen De'Aaron make some incredible basketball IQ plays. So I know it's there, but we've also seen just the plays you can't have in the play-in against the Pelicans. He has 3 terrible plays to end the third quarter, which basically ended the Kings' any chances of them having in that game. So with as much basketball as you watch, with as many Kings games as you've been to, do you think it's a byproduct of just slow reaction times, lapses, or is it a choice?
I think it can be a combination of all 3. Darren's too talented. He's too smart to make those type of mistakes in those moments. But NBA players are stubborn, right? It's always the next play, next shot mentality. And so I don't think Darren is just a dumb player. I just feel like sometimes in moments, NBA players, and I'll stick with him, he's stubborn, right? I mean, he believes in his skill set. He believes in his training. And those plays that you speak of, those 3 bad plays versus the Pelicans, some of that is I got to make up for the last play that I messed up, right? I want to end the quarter on the right way. And so, but those are things that, Mike Brown, and when Fernandez was here, the Kings assistant coach, and Doug and Leandro, those are things that you take Darren to the side, after the quarter ends, and you chat with him a little bit. Hey, man, we don't need that. And I've seen Doug and Leandro do that, in person a few times. They'll meet Darren at half court and kind of, whisper in his ear, and he nods, okay, so I'm sure they're talking to him. But when you're on the court and you're in the battle and it's right in front of you, it's, these guys are moving so fast. And so I don't know. I mean, that comes with experience. I don't have an answer for that. But let me talk about this last thing and I'll let you go.
Yeah, hit us.
What if I told you that I think Sabonis is the most expendable piece right now? I'm going to tell you why. See, I look past all the double-doubles, the 19 points, 13. He led the league in the reboundings. Cool, gotcha. He's a good playmaker, right? He's got that Jokic mid-post, grabs the ball and, guys are moving. I get it.
Yep.
Rhino, he struggles versus legitimate big guys, and he needs a right hand. I'm sorry. How many times do we watch this dude play basketball and the defense knows he's going left? And this game is about adjustments. And if somebody takes away your best attribute, what's your counter? And you see that he doesn't have a right hand. And a lot of people don't talk about this. And,
you bring up a great point. And
you saw him get bullied versus Looney versus the Warriors. You saw him get somewhat bullied versus Valanciunas versus the Pelicans. Where's the pump fake and where's the right hand at? Where's the right hook shot at, right? You talked about the mid-range jump shot. Don't hesitate, shoot it. You can shoot that. You know what I'm saying? You can shoot that. And so I'm not a big fan of Sabonis. I think he's a stat stuffer. I think he fills a stat sheet. I think in today's NBA, it's easy to do. I will. Well, not easy to do, but because he does fight for rebounds, I'm gonna give you that. But the court's spread wide open, a lot more possessions, faster pace, and so I'll just say the stats are a little inflated compared to what I'm used to accustomed seeing with some of the old big guys. Let me close out on this last note.
Yeah.
they should have made a deal at the trade deadline. And I think last time we spoke, we touched on it. Like, you don't wait until Malik is a free agent or what the case is to figure out what's going on. Listen, you should have signed that man during the season, gave him the extension, right? Or figure it out. If not, then you should have traded him. But then you're in a bad spot, because if he is a free agent, then what team is giving up assets on a guy who is
Nobody.
renting,
Exactly.
right? I mean, he's
Exactly.
not Kawhi Leonard, so he's not going to bring a championship like Kawhi did to Toronto. And so the Kings mishandled him, I believe so. And so I will say this, though, he's not taking less money. The CBA was not negotiated to take less money. And so he's earned the right to ask for the max, whatever he can get. And if the Kings can't pay him, then he deserves to leave and go get his money. It just is what it is. I mean, Darren and Sabonis got their money, right?
Yeah,
And
no,
so,
I don't disagree with you. I mean, in terms of the this trade deadline was a bad example, right? There wasn't much out there, and Malik would have been one of the bigger names had the Kings tried to market him, because you're seeing a team like Orlando right now. They didn't have a 3-point shooter. They've got a great starting five, but they needed that depth. They needed that spark. They needed that activator. And so for playoff teams, this would have been the year to kind of go over the top. So maybe you could have got something there. But anybody that talks about sign and trades right now with Malik, it's not. And I'll take this point up with Grant, because he's brought up sign and trades. What's the point of that? What does Malik get out of that? You're depleting the assets of your new team when you can just sign with your new team, unless, cash considerations, whatever it may be. But I'm with you, man. Malik, I wish the Kings, and if you are going to fault their front office for anything, is they've been reactionary rather than, being proactive. And I think that's what's kind of the trade deadline, Mr. Moss, 2 years, or not this last year, but the year before. That is the trade deadline where the Kings fell behind the West.
Yeah, for sure, man. Just real quick, when I mentioned trades, I wasn't particularly referring to Malik, because I knew his situation contract.
I know you're not. Yeah.
I was mainly talking about guys like Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter. You mentioned it. A lot of teams out east do want Davion Mitchell. A guy who's feisty. Quote unquote pit bull, pick you up 90 feet. I actually like Davion's game. Not sure Kings here in Sacramento is the right fit for him, especially the way Keon Ellis finished the season out. I like Keon Ellis a lot, right? But unfortunately, he's not Malik Monk. He doesn't play make. He does. He can shoot the 3-ball and shot it well, but so I don't think there's a spot here or minutes per se, heavy minutes for Davion Mitchell. So we'll see. But I listen. I wouldn't have re-signed Harrison Barnes. I mean, listen, and he's such a cool dude and a great guy and a locker room guy. But I mean, if you're trying to win, then I wouldn't have re-signed Harrison Barnes. That's just me. I probably wouldn't have done that.
I don't have a problem with re-signing Harrison for the number they re-signed him for, because the alternatives on the market were going to be more expensive and maybe not considerably better. But the problem I have is the extension on Sabonis. Was it necessary last summer? I get the reasons for it, but that's money that the Kings could have used to get better in this window. And the fact that they did that told me they're not sold on what direction that they want to go. They've got Fox locked up. They've got Keegan for another couple of years, and they got Sabonis locked up. But there's no decision on who's the man we're going to build around. And as Dirk brought it up, you've kind of talked about Sabonis as well. Who is the most expendable? You can't answer those questions without knowing what the Kings are going to be. Like, what do you want to play? What's your style going to be? What are your principles? Because all we know right now is you're a middle of the road defensive team and you like to shoot the 3-ball.
Right. Rhino, I'll take this question off air so you can move along, but you can answer it off air. I'll leave the chat. But have you got a chance to watch the Rockets play this year? I mean, if you have, what's your thoughts, coaching staff? Jalen Green is from here. He's from Augusta, a local kid.
Yep.
So, Sagoon got hurt here in Sac with the ankle injury. So I was at the game. Give me your thoughts, man. I mean, started out great, tailed off in the middle of the season, had a great finish, and then the last 10 games, tailed off again. Is Ime working? I mean, some guys aren't responding to him. I don't know. So I mean, I'm a diehard Rockets fan, but
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
been
I'll
a
hit.
roller coaster. But I'll take it off air, man, and you have a good day, man.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Moss.
sure.
Always great contributions, as always. I love it. If you want to call the show as well, respond to anything that we are talking about, you can. I'm going to post that link again in the chat. You can just hit that. Ime, great coach. Great coach. I think the players respect him. He out-coached Mike Brown. The first 2 meetings of the season. Hell, he outcoached Mike Brown all 4 meetings. I think the Rockets were 100% ahead of schedule this year. Certainly a young team that has stuff to work on, but look at some of the veterans you got there. Van Vliet, they brought in Jalen. I like his game. The Rockets, for the style the NBA wants to play or has been playing the last 4 or 5 years, I think it translates. And this was the part that surprised me, Mr. Moss. He got those guys to play defense. Those boys played defense at times, shut you down. And the run they went on to try to get into the play-in, at one point they had ran off 10 or 11 in a row. And my hat was certainly tipped to them. And as for Şengün, that dude, if you're going to put bigs into categories, he's in the category of Jokic, Domas. He's in that category. He's not as good as those two, but he may get to Sabonis. And actually, I don't think he's too far off if the trajectory continues. So in short, I think the Rockets scare the hell out of me, but I'm not sure how they're going to be long-term. I want to see another half season from them to see if they can follow up and stay ahead of schedule. Baki, Sabonis is a 1,000-page book. We can discuss about him longer than anything around the Kings team. Yes, he is. Finchy hoping in. Holy crap, Ryan, I just got home and a tree fell in front of my yard. So I was cutting it up. Another limb almost killed me. John, why are you sending me messages, dude? Get a hard hat on. Get all the stuff out of the way so you don't get injured, my man. That's like some Final Destination stuff. You've had 2 incidents here. If you get hit now, it's on you, John. Stay safe, man. Şengün and Jabari Smith need to trade roles. Şengün needs to play. Let's see. Gobert. Smith needs more shots. Smith has a higher ceiling. Super talent. There you go. Take from James on the Rockets. Patrick, welcome in. You ready for tonight, buddy? Yes, I am worried about John too. Okay, let's since we're on this Malik Monk conversation, we are talking. He let's see. He just glossed himself. NBA guru, actually NBA and meter guru. Zach in the house. What do you think will be in that Netflix Sabonis show? What should we expect? Or expect her? Let's expect her. NBA guru. Expect her? I don't know what that is. Do I need a ruling from the judges on expect her? Expect. I'm just playing with you, buddy. Zach knows that. You get it razzed around here once in a while. Holy moly. Good night, Tadora. Thank you for being
Holy
here.
moly, Jimbo Bowley.
As always, listen to your dad, by the way. Listen to your dad. Zach, getting back to your question. I think it's going to be a cool inside look with Sabonis. I think it's going to be heavily focused more off the court rather than on the court. And here's why. Domas's life on the court's an open book, right? You see him 82 games a year, hopefully more than 82 if you're a Sacramento Kings fan. But his personal life, he really does a good job of separating those. It's well documented. He gets home, work stays at the door. It doesn't come home with him. And I want to see a young family, a growing young family. Sabonis, I want to see his grind. You know, I heard a lot of people commenting about the stuff with De'Aaron and Reese and De'Aaron having to stay up to take care of the baby. Let's see what Sabonis is dealing with. And I'm not comparing those two situations. In fact, I don't put any weight into the situation with Fox. I mean, it's whatever a new parent goes through, whether you're employed, unemployed, you are a new parent. You are responsible for a life. And whether you like it or not, that comes first. even if you're making hundreds of millions of dollars in the NBA. And I know NBA fans don't like to hear that. So, they're regular guys and gals, just like us. But I want to see Sabonis off the court. I want to be more inside to his world because I've gotten to have a conversation or two with him. I have not gotten to talk at length with him, but I know he goes great lengths to make increments. He will make big changes in his lifestyle to make incremental improvements on the court. For instance, last offseason, took the food testing. I told you that. The guy already had like no body fat. Found out that pasta was not good for his body personally. Cuts pastas out. Guy's almost a 0% body fat. And the machine. Think about how many hits that guy took and just kept rolling. He deleted social media coming into this season. So that is what I think you're going to see. You're going to get a big dose of obviously the off the court. And that's what I want to see, to be honest with you. Have to see how the Knicks bench does. Yes, they have a hole to fill with Robinson out. I think that Precious can play up to the challenge. Hey, New York fans have been begging for Precious to get on the floor, right, Patrick? You guys have wanted to see him in spot duty. So it will be interesting to see what Tibbs does because he plays such a tight rotation. Now he is forced to make a change. James hopping back in. I feel like Monk would join a team like the 76ers if the money is there. Maybe. Who knows? But we will know soon enough. And one of the teams, that's a transition, that we have heard from or heard rumors about is the Orlando Magic. No secret that they are looking to bolster their playmaking, looking to get some veteran leadership in on that team. And we've heard a few names. One of them is a name we've talked a lot about today, Malik Monk. Well, we can hear from guys like me or other people that are doing shows talking about the Kings and their thoughts on what other teams are doing. Why don't we hear it directly from the people that cover the Orlando Magic? I found this interesting. This is Locked On Magic. All credit to them. They're talking about their offseason and talking about their offseason needs. So this is going to be in two parts, okay? The first part, they were talking about two big names, Paul George and Klay Thompson. We'll pick it up there and then go from there. This is Locked On Magic. Credit to them via YouTube.
Wagner shooting 1 for 15 and 0 for 5 from 3, and Klay Thompson going 0 for 7 or 0 for whatever he did against the Sacramento Kings in the play-in tournament. Both had bad playoff outings, but there's a difference with the gravity that Klay Thompson can create, and so there's definitely something there. Here's my problem with both of these moves. Both of them have injury histories, and they're a little bit older. Not that the Magic should be exclusively looking. I think looking at some veterans would help this team tremendously. I am a big subscriber to the Horace Grant theory. If the Magic can find a Horace Grant, can find someone who's been there, bring a little bit more seriousness to this team, a little bit more kind of wisdom in a meaningful role. Again, it's Joe Ingles is great. Gary Harris is great. Joe Ingles is playing 15 minutes a game.
Notice no mention of Malik Monk yet. They've talked about Paul George. They're talking about, and previous to this, the discussion was about Orlando locking up their young core. And you're going to be interested in one of the moves he talks about here in a second that Orlando could consider if they want to free up even more space. They continue. By the way, we're going to get an update from John as soon as we get through this segment. I got him on hold right now, and I'm going to feel awful if you know what? We're putting this on pause. I don't want a tree to fall on him. John, what is going on? Are you okay? Report to us.
Right now I am, buddy. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear.
Holy crap. Look at this carnage, Ryan. I got home. There's one of my trucks there. Two of my trucks. That gray truck didn't have a limb on it, but I was cutting this branch up and crack. I dove over there by the cutlass and the freaking limb almost freaking hit me and killed me, bro.
John, my man.
I'm saying you're good luck, Ryan. I happen to be on with you, so you're good luck, buddy.
What can I say? I try to bring good luck to all, my friend. I'm glad you're safe. That's not a fun situation to be in, dude.
Can you see this? I got all my other trucks parked across the street and stuff. Oh my God, Ryan.
Whew,
Good times,
Johnny,
huh?
Good times.
We're gonna
you
be
never
fine.
know.
Don't worry.
Johnny, that tree was kind of the.
I'm the boogeyman. I'm coming to get you.
That tree was like, I'm the boogeyman. I'm coming.
There's a couple more limbs, man.
Oh my
Got to go
goodness.
next. You see that thing?
All right, John.
Oh boy.
You stay safe.
Good
It's
times,
windy,
brother.
man. Take your
Yep.
day off. Go home. Have a cocktail or an iced tea. Throw something on the grill and get the hell away from that tree.
Hey, bro. I think I got lasagna in the oven, so I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna lay off the grill today. It's too windy now.
There you go. All
Never
right.
too windy. It's really never too windy, but I'm kind of busy now.
Well, I appreciate the report, and I'm glad you're okay, man. Anything to add on the Kings conversation?
Hey, man. I still think it's 50-50 that Monk will stay here because, if he does stay one more year, next year he's going to have the chance to get a lot more money, but it depends on what really goes on with Orlando, I think. And I think Orlando's still now the front runner. But hey, man, I think he would fit great in Miami, but they'll have to pull some trades and stuff. But man, it seems to me like he is Heat culture like that. And with the crap going on with Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley, you just never know, Ryan. You never know. We shall see.
Never know.
There's
You
Ash.
never know.
There's Ash keeping an eye on me.
What's up, Ash? Hey, glad you
Oh,
guys
he said he's trying to watch the show.
Yeah, well, I love it. Hey, I'm going to let you two get back to work because I don't want you looking at me and having another piece of tree fall in, my friend.
Right on, Ryan. Sorry
All
for
right, brother.
bothering you. I just wanted to let you know everybody's all right, man. We're gonna
John,
be
you
okay,
are
bro.
never bothering us. The chat lit up. Is John okay? Is John okay? Because when John says something happens, it really happened. He's not a BSer. He will come in and show you. Just like he says he'll shave his beard. He shaved his beard on if you don't like that.
You can hardly tell anymore, can you?
You cannot, John. No, you cannot.
Hey,
All
you
right,
remember
buddy.
it was at least a foot longer than this. So.
Yeah,
Hey, Ryan.
that's true. Hey, appreciate the
Thanks
call,
for
John.
thanks for the good feelings. Thanks for the kind words to everybody, man. Everybody's
Of
all right
course.
though, so it's all good. I feel lucky.
Of course.
Even though this
Of
sucks,
course.
I feel lucky.
Amen, man.
Thanks, Ryan.
You got somebody looking out for you. That is John and Ash from the field, literally from the field. Limb almost landed on John. Look, John, you're taking over the show. News update. I'm helping John with his tree. John is my brother. Yes, you guys are definitely brothers from different mothers, Baki. And I'm going to say this, Baki. You look like you could have been an NBA player. I know you're a chair ref in tennis, but yeah. So let's get back to the Magic. I'm going to play some more sound from you. This is Locked On Magic talking about their priorities this offseason.
Bring me a veteran who's been there that's in the starting lineup. I would love that. And so Klay Thompson, to some extent, Paul George would bring that level of seriousness to this team and a level of purpose to this group that they don't have right now because, again, they're just so young. Having said all that, they're both injury prone. Like Klay Thompson still, has not been the same player since coming back from the injury. Paul George is little, he plays a lot. And it's not that he doesn't play, but he's had little nicks and cuts. These are two guys in their mid-30s. So essentially you're taking this summer where you have your last kind of chance to spend a lot of money. And you're spending all of it on these two players. Now the Magic can open up to, I think, $45 to $50 million of cap room. There's, they could waive Jonathan Isaac. They could waive Mo Wagner. There is ways for them.
What? Waive Jonathan Isaac? Who's Jonathan Isaac? I feel like I've heard that name somewhere here in Sacramento. Jonathan Isaac. Yeah. The guy that came into Sacramento and he lit the Kings up. But Jonathan Isaac, he has a problem staying on the floor. Now, here's what I found interesting about this, y'all. It's the fact that they never mentioned Malik Monk, at least the portions that I listened to, hyper focused on Klay Thompson, hyper focused on bringing in a bigger name. And Malik Monk isn't that name. So if this is the swing that Orlando, or the last year Orlando has to take a big swing salary wise, like I said before we heard the sound drop, does Malik fit into that? If Orlando's gonna be in the market for a big move, we know they've been courting him informally. That was a big talk about the Kings trip out to Orlando. So we'll pay attention to that, but I found it very interesting that Wagner, he's not going anywhere. They're not going to waive Wagner, but but Jonathan Isaac, the injury concerns, that sure would be a very interesting situation to me. All right, so I told you we have pick or pass lined up for you today. We're going to throw some players up on the screen, and we're going to say pick or pass. Which way would you go with them? So let's get it started.
Who would you like to see the Kings pick up this offseason? It's time for pass or pick with Rhino.
All right, it is pass or pick time. Pictured right now on the screen, a face many of you Sacramento Kings fans recognize. That's right, that is Gary Payton II. Gary Payton II. How could he help this Sacramento team? Does his offseason number fall in line with what the Kings can pay? MLE. Are the Kings going to be defensive minded? Maybe. Hey, Mike Brown, 50-50 balls, right? 50-50 balls. Talks about them all the time. Well, Gary Payton II is the king, and I mean the king of 50-50 balls. This last season, he made $8.7 million. Now, the deal with him, he has a player option this year for 8 points. I'm not sure exactly what the option is. I believe it is 8.7. So he can pick up his option, stay with the Warriors, or does he decide to go a different way? So do you think he is a pick or a pass? Let's see. Condog, he's saying pass. Condog with the pass there. I'm not sure if he's a pick or a pass to me. As I think about it a little bit more, I think about the injury concerns. I'm going to say, let him go. Let him pass. Anytime a guy has a player option, many times those guys pick it up. LeBron, one of the guys that we have talked about the most with player options. So let's get back to it. Pick or pass? We've got another pass from Baki. I love it. So, pick or pass? Do you know this name? Throwing up another one. Tyus Jones. This name came up last night from Grant on our show. He thought Tyus Jones could be a good point guard or a good fit in this Sacramento system. I don't necessarily disagree with him. He is an unrestricted free agent. That is important. Also, which way are they going to go with Tyus in Washington? His pay last year, $14.5. Do you think Tyus has upped that value, or do you think that value is just about right? Could you get Tyus for an MLE? Baki saying, Condog, pick. Yeah, I got to go with you guys.
I got one.
I think Tyus Jones would be a very good fit in Sacramento. The question then becomes, again, the number. Could you get him around possibly that MLE mark? I think he is an intriguing name. one of the more intriguing names as an unrestricted free agent. Let's go back to the wheel. A popular name we have heard many times in Sacramento. DeMar DeRozan. What are the Bulls going to do? And hey, look, I said do again. Do you want DeMar back? Probably not. Zach LaVine, you're looking to get off that number. The Bulls do have early bird rights with DeMar DeRozan. Oh, excuse me. He is, unrestricted free agent with Bird. So, yes, his number this year, $27.3 million. So, we talk about the Kings and we talk about their age. What kind of age group are they targeting for their window? We talk about the two guard. Are they targeting a true two guard? The Kings have had a really tough time, even though they have been very good at it with the mid-range. For whatever reason, they don't do it enough, and that's a byproduct of the NBA. DeMar DeRozan, he is your prototypical mid-range guy. But unfortunately, I can't get past the number. I can't get past the age. Baki, pass for age, Condog. Baki hopping back in. Pass. My decision. Pass. I do not want to see DeMar DeRozan in a Sacramento Kings uniform. I do think it could work out. That's that prototypical piece that Dirk was talking about. Maybe bringing in a fringe all-star, bringing in a guy that can take some pressure off of De'Aaron Fox. The problem, not just the age with DeMar, the problem also is injury concerns. And I quite frankly don't think DeMar DeRozan is the piece that will take the Kings over the top or, really do anything significantly to help this team. All right.
Who would you like to see the Kings pick up this offseason? It's time for Pass or Pick with Rhino.
Pass or pick? The controversial name, Paul George. What are the Clippers gonna do with their team? They're moving into a new building. Steve Ballmer built a palace that has more toilets than any other arena currently in the NBA. Well, that's good because they have a crap product right now. It's just not a good mix. Kawhi Leonard can't stay on the court. Kawhi, I love you, buddy. You know I love you. But Kawhi, it's a problem. And Paul George, he either shows up or he's non-existent. What you saw some incredible playmaking from Paul George in one of the playoff games against Dallas. He hits a clutch three from behind the backboard. But with Paul George also comes the injury concerns. On the Kings court, we talked about, check this out, we talked about his comments. Basically, it is what it is, to paraphrase. He doesn't care about losing. It is what it is. Paul George, he has a player option this year for $44.1 million. So if I'm Paul George, I'm picking up that option. I don't think Paul George ultimately becomes available. And if you're the Bulls, how did you feel about that Lonzo Ball option that he picked up? $22 million. Oh, Baki, he's saying no. Pass. Condog. Come on, everybody. Get involved here. Give me your picks or passes. He's saying pick 2-year deal. That is a hefty contract that you are going to have to take on with Paul George. Again, would he fit in the Sacramento system? Sure. Does he give you a way to spread the floor? Sure. Can he stay on the floor? Unsure. Defense? Sometimes. Length? There. I think he's a good fit for what the Kings do, but not at that number. So unfortunately, I am going to have to say it is definitely a hard pass. Dirk would go for PG. I respect Dirk's opinion. All right. And that's why we're having this segment. Baki, that's right. You're going to see only one thing from him in 7-game series without Leonard. He doesn't know how to be a leader. I don't know if I agree with that, but I certainly see where there are those concerns because Paul, for the most part, has had teams built around him and or joined teams. So he's done it both ways. Let's go back to the passer pick wheel. Who do you guys think is going to come up? Who have we been talking about that might be a free agent? I've talked about this guy a lot. I'm already going to give you my answer. I got one. Isaiah Hartenstein of the New York Knicks. Have you watched him lately? Have you seen how important he is to what the Knicks do right now? Isaiah Hartenstein runs the floor beautifully, crashes the boards beautifully, plays with an isolation point guard and plays well with that isolation point guard. He is a key piece to what the New York Knicks do, but do I think that there's any chance the Kings can get him? I don't know. Would you have to overpay for him? Maybe, but I'm kind of in the court. As long as you don't overpay much, I really, really like the idea of adding Hartenstein to this roster. I think he's proven himself on a big stage in New York. Coming to Sacramento is certainly a different stage. It's a smaller market. It has its own challenges. Is that a negative for Hartenstein? Maybe. You don't know if he's used to that style of life in the big city and the big lights. You do have a little bit less pressure off you. He does have an early bird, but he is an unrestricted free agent. Isaiah making $8 million a year. Tell you what, Isaiah, 12.9, the MLE, Sacramento, all freaking day. Yeah, I would spend the MLE on him. What do you guys think? And Dirk's saying he's going to be too expensive. What do you think? Patrick, hop in here. Patrick, what do you think the value, or what is the New York media saying about Hartenstein's value? But he is 100%. I got one. A pick for me. I would love to see Hartenstein in a Sacramento Kings uniform. Where are we going next? We got a couple more to go. We've had a couple of picks. We've had a few hard no's. How about this next one? I'm not sure if you have heard this name. Maybe you have. Let's bring him up. GM, LeBron James. LeBron James appears that he is going to, if he has not already, he's going to opt out of his contract. And here's why he's going to opt out. He officially wants all the power in that Lakers organization. I had a take earlier this week. Make him the player's coach. Make him a player coach. Why not? I don't think LeBron will go for that. And here's why. He doesn't like taking responsibility. So he would rather play chess master from behind the scenes and let one of those 9 coaches LeBron James has had in his career in 3 different stops. So the first question comes, do you think LeBron would leave LA? I do not. So I don't think he's really in play. I think LA is catering to him. He has built a life there, and LeBron is very, very focused on life after basketball as well. I think you got 2 more years of LeBron James. He has the player option. Check this out. How would you all like to have a player option for $49.5 million? $49.5 million. All you got to do is say yes. And I know that that's a lot of money, but in LeBron's world, yeah, you get my point. LeBron makes a lot of money. He makes more off the court than he makes on the court. So how would LeBron James fit with the Sacramento Kings? LeBron James would be a great fit for the Kings. LeBron would come in, and he is at the exact point in his career where a stop like Sacramento would work out really well for this part. The Kings have 3 really nice pieces, 3 nice pieces that we keep debating over. Do we change them? Do we not change them? Good point here by Condog. It's a business. You're not just bringing in a player. You are bringing in a business. Now, Dirk, I 100% agree with you. if LeBron was to leave LA, the only other place I see him going is New York. I assume that's who you're talking about, Dirk. Knicks pay their other center $15 million already. Well, there you go. So he's answering the question about Hartenstein. But New York would make all the sense in the world for LeBron as well. A team right there on the brink. He could help them out greatly. So for LeBron James, if he was available, I got one. How could you not? I don't think you could pass that up. Tell me if you feel differently. We've got a couple more to go. Let's see. Who are we going to bring up next in pass or pick? Oh, I have one. You guys might not like this one. I did this before the conversation went this way today, but I'm going to go ahead. You know what? We're going to do this one first. You guys ready? Here we go. Pass or pick? Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson. Could he do anything in Sacramento? Would Klay Thompson consider coming to Sacramento? I don't know. In some ways, I've said it, Klay Thompson and Malik Monk's free agencies are tied together. And Klay Thompson's value is going to be best with the Golden State Warriors taking a step back. Now, if he wants a change of scenery and he wants to reset on his career, I think a stop like Orlando would be great for him. I don't think Sacramento is a good fit, and here's why. You don't need to. Klay is not a playmaker anymore. The Sacramento Kings need somebody that can make plays. Klay is great coming off screens. He's good for a couple threes a game. He can stabilize your second unit. And yes, Harrison Barnes is basically Klay Thompson at this point. It is not a bad take. Okay, we're eliciting some reaction here. Patrick, hands off Hartenstein. I'm sorry, Patrick. You know what, Patrick? I am not jersey guy, but if I was to get a jersey, he would be in the conversation. I love the way he plays his game. He's also commenting here with Robinson's injury history. Knicks may flip and offer Hartenstein a good contract and move on. There you go. Good point by Patrick, our guy that knows all things New York basketball. We're getting some more passes. I am saying that is 100% a hard pass for me. I do not want to see Klay Thompson in a Sacramento Kings uniform. We've got just a couple more to go, and we'll get ready to wrap up the show. This one might be the most controversial one of the group. Pass or pick? De'Aaron Fox. I give the show to you. I give the show to you in the chat. De'Aaron Fox. Dirk had a great call today talking about the Kings, talking about De'Aaron Fox, needing more help around him, needing more playmakers around him. I agree with Dirk wholeheartedly. I think De'Aaron has had a very, very hard time being focused on this year. Dirk, you didn't bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up. The one thing we're not talking enough about with De'Aaron Fox is the fact that he played off the basketball so much this year. So much this year. You don't hear it a lot from the other guys in the media, but towards the end of the season, Mike Brown had a hard line that came out in a press conference that literally said, yeah, the year we made the playoffs, I pretty much called all the plays, and I was calling plays all the time. This season, other way around. We let the guys call the plays. That has not picked up enough steam. I think that is far too much responsibility for this young of a team. Yes, your Sacramento Kings are a very, very young team. Now, De'Aaron Fox got to the league with the ball in his hand. Put the damn ball back in De'Aaron Fox's hands next year. If you cater to De'Aaron Fox, if you bring in those pieces and you give De'Aaron Fox the fair shake that he deserves, the shake that Dirk laid out in his call earlier today, and it doesn't work for Sacramento, then we're having a different conversation. I have flipped on this. Grant asked me about it last night. I flipped on it as well from my take when the season ended. For me and De'Aaron Fox, this is... I got one. You keep De'Aaron Fox. You have got to keep De'Aaron Fox. You lose De'Aaron Fox, you've lost that much more of a step with the Western Conference. And if you're going to trade De'Aaron Fox, let's think about this for a second. There's got to be some value on the backside with De'Aaron. That means there's got to be some time left on that contract. You don't want to have De'Aaron in a lame duck situation that you normally see free agents in, where it's going to be a rental trade deadline deal to try to take a team over the top, because you will never, ever get fair value in that situation. So to counter Dirk's point, De'Aaron Fox deserves a good shake, a good opportunity at making this his team. You got to understand, this will never be Domantas Sabonis's team. This is De'Aaron Fox's team. So De'Aaron Fox needs to take it upon himself to make this team better, and there's ways De'Aaron can do that. He's talked about what he needs to work on in the offseason. I am hopeful that he comes back. De'Aaron Fox, a man of very few words sometimes, okay? Did you hear what he said after the season? Did you see the post he had on social media? I'm sorry. You guys deserved a playoff run. We will be back. That is out of character for De'Aaron Fox, and I love it. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. De'Aaron Fox, my challenge to you, regardless of whether or not Malik Monk stays on this roster in Sacramento, I want to see you have a spectacular pick and roll game. I want to see you make your teammates better more consistently, because if you're going to knock Foxy, that's the knock. But the counterpoint, as Dirk laid out, is when you only have so many playmakers, you know what happens? They play really good basketball, but they both end up in the top 20 in turnovers for the NBA. And that's what you had this year with De'Aaron, and that's what you had with Sabonis. Now, one thing De'Aaron Fox can control is this. De'Aaron Fox went from the inaugural clutch player of the year, to 4th in the NBA this year in missed field goals. I get the defense has focused in on Fox. There's been more of a game plan to take him out. I understand those things. But at the end of the day, shot selection lands on De'Aaron Fox. And that lands on De'Aaron Fox, not just for himself, but for the entire Sacramento Kings team, because he is the guy that is running the show. He is setting the table. He's the leader of the team. I want to see De'Aaron Fox take that step this offseason. Those are our passes or our picks. I thought that was a lot of fun. Let's get some reaction on De'Aaron. I can guard Clay easy peasy. I'll chat. Baki, I might be able to set that up. You better be careful. Dirk, I know you are, my brother. You are definitely ride or die with Fox. Pick, agree. Baki, let's see. Fox is the other book with 1,000 pages on the shelf. Yes. Now, as much as De'Aaron needs to grow on the court, and that's true of many players that are in your core here in Sacramento, De'Aaron needs to also grow mentally. You cannot allow the referees to take up as much real estate in your head as they did this year, because Sacramento fans are going to have a very, very short leash for that kind of thing after a run with DeMarcus Cousins, who we talked about a ton. Dirk, you lose Fox, you reset the whole team. Yep, I don't disagree unless there's a perfect trade out there. Fox already groomed Keegan and made him so much better. They did spend a lot of time together last offseason. Kings need a way to get easy buckets when they have tired legs. Yep, absolutely. Again, the Kings, their fatal flaw last year, too many finishers and not enough creators. And that is the one area where I was very, very happy to see Davion Mitchell take his game in that time that Malik Monk was out. We're going to end the show this way. You guys all know the history between the New York Knicks and Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller is going to be doing the Knicks game tonight in the Garden, and there's this mixed relationship between him and the Garden, this mixed relationship, complicated if you want to say, between him and Spike Lee. So he was on the Dan Patrick show the other day, and you might be asking about why the heck does Ryan have the boogeyman drop?
I'm the boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
Well, I have the boogeyman drop because Reggie Miller thinks he's the boogeyman of the Garden. We kick it to the Dan Patrick show. This is Reggie Miller. Credit to the Dan Patrick show.
Will forever be linked. Now, we have put a lot of our baggage kind of under the bridge. You know, we've been friendly at All-Star games, and he was at when we did the All-Star luncheon for the Legends, he was there and presented an award for me. So we've been kind of cool, but we haven't faced, our Pacers and Knicks have not faced one another. Now we are. I'm going to be in the building, and tensions are high because both teams have a chance to be in the conference finals. Think about that. The Knicks and or Pacers have a chance to be in a conference finals. So the stakes are much higher. I get it, New Yorkers. The way they took over Philadelphia and how they acted, I get it. But just know the boogeyman is coming back to town to call the game.
I'm the boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
How great is that? You know what? Love or hate Reggie Miller, I love the little storylines that go into these rivalries, right? Look, Reggie Miller, he was a pain in the ass when he was a player for New York. He was mouthy. And when I say playing against New York, he was obviously on the Pacers, but he was mouthy. He was everything a small market needs. He was the perfect definition, example of a star in a small market that picked up that market and picked up the team and put them on the back and just had that swagger, that confidence. Speaking of De'Aaron Fox, he's got that swagger sometimes. So I can't wait to see the game within the game tonight between the fans at NYC. And by the way, did you know this? They are going to bus New York Knicks fans to Indianapolis because of this whole thing that the Knicks fans did in Philadelphia. It is going to keep rolling. So I love keeping my eyes on these situations. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yes, he did. Good point, Patrick. He definitely did. That's an East Coaster right there for you, educating you. He is, you know what? Love him or hate him. I love when guys have fun with this. I love when guys are self-deprecating. I love that. It's what sports, the subcontext of sports, it's what it's all about. So I will have my eyes on the...
I'm the boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
So it will be a lot of fun tonight. Hey, we've had a great show. Thank you to all of the callers. Dirk, John, thank you for being alive. Mr. Moss, Condog, everybody who took the time to contribute, call in, comment. Thank you so much. This show is about you. I love it. I enjoy being here. Make us your place for Sacramento sports before your drive home. We get you ready for that. We have a lot of fun. We will be back here on the King's Court tomorrow live at 2 o'clock. And as always, and by the way, Wednesdays are 2:30 because my little man gets out a little bit early on Wednesdays, but you can always find every episode on the King's Court on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That will take you to my Twitter page. And then also you get a morning shoot around from me setting the day for the live show. And then also huge thanks to Napes for having us on here on his platform. If you don't like that, if you haven't already subscribed, please do. You'll get some really fun exclusive rants. I talked about the turtle the other day. Who remembers the turtle rant from last summer? That was really good. You thought Kevin Harlan's call to the streaker was good? Listen to Grant do a call on the turtle trying to get to its food. It's awesome. Over 7,000 of you are already subscribed. Go check it out if you have not already. Thank you so much. Tadora, do your thing.
Holy moly, Jimbo Bowling.
Go Kings. Light the beam. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for being here. Court is dismissed.